So hey everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. I am Mr. John, and last week we kind of left off on a cliffhanger. Don't you love those old Batman shows when they would have Batman and Robin in this really precarious thing going on and something's about to happen, and then they would just cut the show and say, come back next time. I kind of did that to you and I apologize, but listen. Last week we left off with Elijah fleeing, right? He's fleeing from Queen Jezebel and she's out to kill him and he's scared and he goes running for 24 hours and he ends up at a bush, falls asleep, an angel wakes him up, feeds him, lets him take another nap, feeds him again and sends him on his way to Mount Horeb to where he is now hiding in a cave. And then I stopped the story. Whoa, but that's not the end of the story. He's chilling out in the cave, right? And God comes to visit Elijah. Elijah, remember, he is such a great man of God. But in this moment, he is really kind of struggling a bit. And so I think he's like, man, God, this is happening to me, but you're not there, right? He's kind of saying that. You know, it doesn't say it in so many words, but we can kind of read between the lines here, right? A little bit. Dude, Queen Jezebel's out to get me, and listen, you didn't put a force field around me type of thing is what I kind of see here. And so now he's fled, he's in Mount Horeb, he's in this cave, and God says, hey, listen, got something to say to you. I need you to go stand up out there on the mountain. I want you to look out, right? While he's standing out there, this just wind. Now, we live in Kansas. I don't know where you're watching me on this from, but I live in Kansas, and I tell you what, about a week ago, we had a storm come through, and I live about a mile from the airport, and the wind was clocked at 100 miles an hour at the airport. Crazy stuff, right? That's blowing and going, right? But here's the thing. We got up that morning to go outside and it was like a hurricane went through. Hurricane force winds. Trees and branches were down everywhere. I mean, it looked like literally a hurricane blew through. And I kind of know what a hurricane looks like. And I've even seen a tornado before. And this is what Elijah is on the mountain. He's kind of witnessing this. It's a wind. It's a tornado type. It's blowing so hard that rocks on the mountain are coming down. They're breaking. They're shattering. And it's crazy, right? And you get up. Have you ever been up high and the wind is blowing? It's like crazy blowing hard, right? He's up in the mountains in this wind. It's tearing up things. And all of a sudden, Elijah realizes this. God was not in the wind. And then soon the wind dies down and begins to settle. And I think Elijah's feeling good about himself when all of a sudden the ground starts shaking. There's craters opening up. There's stuff going on. Things are getting swallowed in by the earth. It is a giant earthquake. I mean, things are shaking. I've been in an earthquake, but I've been in way away from it. Felt a little tremor and maybe the ceiling fan moves a little bit. I've never been into a real earthquake where it's just moving and shaking and everything is going crazy. That would just blow my mind, right? He's on a mountain. This mountain is shaking so hard it could come down at any moment. And in that moment, Elijah realizes God is not in the earthquake. Ground stops shaking, it settles, and all of a sudden he looks about and he starts to see maybe wisps of smoke, maybe he smells it. Then he looks up and it's an inferno around him. It's a fire, it's blazing. Now remember, he's on this mountain looking out. Which way does fire rise? It's rushing up the mountain. It's going crazy, right? Fire is no joke. It can burn up things in a heartbeat. It's coming. And Elijah realizes God is not in the fire. Now, immediately the fire dies down, and then this whisper comes by. and God was in the whisper. And I love this story. It's a great way to think about a couple things, right? One of the things is when bad things happen, right? The hurricane or the tornado winds, the earthquake that's opening up holes, fires that consume mountains or houses or whatever a fire consumes, we tend to go, well, God did that. That's the furthest thing from the truth. God does not do things to hurt us. He doesn't go out of his way to hurt us. The reason these bad things happen are we live in a world that has sin in it. We live in an imperfect world. If the world was perfect, it would be, what, sunshine, 72 degrees outside, maybe a little overcast so we don't get sunburned, right? But it's a perfect, beautiful day, every day. But since sin entered the world, guess what? We don't get that. We get bad things that happen. And like I said, when these big catastrophes happen, right, we tend to think that God had something to do with it. Imagine you got a test and it is supposed to be 90% of your grade and you are sweating this test, but you never studied. And then when you fail the test, you blame God. Well, you didn't study. It's not God's fault that you didn't study. He's not going to miraculously put this into your head. You have some stuff to do with this. But here, I love how God shows up in the whisper. God tends to show up in the little things, right? Have you ever seen what happens after a fire? It consumes like the trees and it consumes the grass. But all of a sudden, everything that was burned soon is renewed and regenerated and grows again. And it's just kind of a way God replenishes those bad things and has them come back. Do we hear God? Are we listening? I think that's one of the main messages in this. Listen, I'm talking to you. I'm showing you. I'm doing all these things for you. Are you listening to me when I'm speaking, right? Are you listening to me when something is going on around you that I'm trying to get you to move? Maybe you're sitting at school, or maybe you're sitting at the park and there's a kid that's sitting there by himself, nobody's playing with, and say the ball that you're playing with all of a sudden rolls to this boy. Maybe God was directing that ball to that boy so you would sit there and ask him to join you to play. Or maybe he was asking you to go over there and maybe he needs something to eat and you have, say, an extra couple crackers with cheese. Man, you know, those things are so good. But maybe it's God who's directing you to help this person. Are we listening? Do we hear these things when they are going on? So God, guys, there's so many ways that God shows up in our lives. It just doesn't happen when we go to church or Sunday school or say we go to a Wednesday night thing at church. God shows up way more often. As a matter of fact, God is showing up all the time. So here's what I would ask you to do. Kind of look around. Pay attention. Are you seeing God in everything you see, say, and do? Do you hear God when you look at say a rainbow, we immediately go, oh, that's God's promise. But do you see it in the rain? Like I'm telling you, we had this serious windstorm, but the rain that came with it, we had tons of rain. We have a lake here that supplies our water supply, and we've been in water restrictions for a while. And the lake was like 8 feet below, and it takes billions and billions of gallons just to raise this thing a foot. After a week of just rain that we've had, and I mean, it's been a lot of rain, and it's kind of nice. We got the sun out now, but we are now like an inch from 8 feet. I'm 6 foot tall. That's 2 foot above me, how low the whole lake was, receding back. It's now only an inch. And we got some rain yesterday, and they're predicting that we should almost be level where we should be as far as the lake level. That means we don't have the water restrictions. That means there's plenty of water for us to get. Man, to me, that's God's whisper. And I hope you're listening to his whisper, because he's always talking news is coming up. Have a great day. Bye.
Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Matthew 4:4.